Alright, this is one of a series of videos looking at the significant product enhancements available in release 7.0 of Solace. This screencast focuses on the guaranteed messaging performance improvements and will show live demos of the message processing capacity of the Solace appliances. First, I'll just briefly go over the Solace guaranteed messaging solution and how it works. Then we'll look at release 7.0 guaranteed messaging performance in terms of message processing capacity. And I've got two live demos for you. An even rate scenario to highlight the ingress capacity, and a fan-out scenario to focus on the egress capacity. In the even rate scenario, I'll demonstrate 450,000 messages per second on ingress and 450,000 messages per second on egress, all fully persistent. In the fan-out scenario, we'll see 1.5 million messages per second egress, again fully persistent. However, it's important to understand a bit about how Solace uses a patented approach to persist messages in order to guarantee delivery and guard against split-brain scenarios. The Solace appliance queues all messages in the Assured Delivery Blade, or ADB, until receipt is confirmed. It keeps its hot standby made appliance constantly in sync. Once safely stored, the message is acknowledged to the publisher and delivered to the online consumers. If a consumer is offline or can't keep up with the message flow, the appliance pushes their backlog to disk in efficient batches, and retrieves these messages as soon as the consumer can receive them. To learn more, watch my previous video on high availability, which you can find on the Solace blog or YouTube channel. It gets into more detail about how the feature works and provides some good demos of simple failover scenarios. As you can see in the following slide, the ADB3 coupled with the release 7.0 of Solace firmware brings you an increase in performance that more than doubles the already amazing guaranteed messaging performance of Solace appliances. For the demonstrations, I'll use a 512 byte message size, which is why I focus on this message size in the slide. This shows the appliance supporting both an input and output rate of 450,000 messages per second. This really highlights the virtues of vertical scalability, which can only be achieved with custom-built solutions. You can really ramp up your performance by simply upgrading ADB cards in your existing platform or upgrading to new firmware. Check out our video on this subject on the Solace blog or YouTube channel if you want to learn more about vertical scalability and how it affects your messaging infrastructure. If you don't have a single application that needs this much performance, then our virtualization capabilities combined with this performance offers a significant opportunity to consolidate your messaging estate into a much smaller footprint and offer messaging as a service. Check out our Solace blog or YouTube channel for a video on Solace virtualization. For this demonstration, we'll use a Solace 3560 chassis populated with 6x10 GiGi NAB and ADB3 and enabled for maximum guaranteed messaging performance running 7.0 Solace. However, you would get equally good results with a 3260 high-performance chassis when using the same blades and release 7.0. The appliances will be set up as an HA pair because this is typically how they are deployed in the field, and we'll use SolAdmin to monitor the appliances and the performance. Test clients are set up such that each publisher sends messages to 2 subscribers, who each receive half the traffic. This gives you a scenario where there are 10 publishers and 20 subscribers in this test. Each publisher will be sending 512 byte messages at 45,000 messages per second for a total ingress rate and egress rate of 450,000 messages per second, fully persistent. Okay. Here we have SolAdmin, and I've already managed the 2 Solace appliances that we will use for this demonstration, right here and here. And if you look over, I've already pre-configured the virtual message broker for the performance test. Here are the 10 endpoints. There are no clients connected at this point. So to start the test, we need to connect some subscribers. For the subscribers, I will use SDK Test Tool. That is a tool available for customers. I've wrapped it in a script, and I've evenly distributed the subscribers among the 5 perf hosts which I have available. So let's just connect the clients. Now if we pop back and refresh, you can now see that the bind counts have all 1. And if we flip over to the Clients tab, you can see that we have 20 subscribing clients, just as expected. To monitor the performance, we'll use SolAdmin Stats Charting, and we'll monitor the ingress and egress message rate. We'll run a 5-minute test, so a 7-minute window should be sufficient for our test. And we'll start this up. At first, it'll have 0 messages per second. I have set the publishers to start all 10 publishers about 3 seconds apart, just so we can see the message rate ramp up. And I've wrapped that again in a script. So let's start up the publishers. And then we can flip back to the graph, and you can see message starting to ramp up. As the publishers connect, we'll get past. So here you can see about 100,000 messages per second, growing to 150. And these are all fully persistent messages that are fully fail-safe, guaranteed delivery by the high availability pair of appliances. So now we're just crossing 300,000 messages per second, 350, 400, and finally 450,000 messages per second, fully persistent messages per second ingress and egress. And now the test will actually kind of hold this rate for a period of time. We can kind of monitor the endpoints. So if we check first the endpoints, you can see if I refresh that the endpoints are receiving messages. The messages spooled is changing. If we go look at the clients again, we can refresh. Now we have our 10 publishers that have been added. If we go to the statistics, if we refresh, you can see that the persistent message counts are incrementing. If we scroll down, you can see that we're seeing a full 450,000 messages per second ingress and egress. So now let's let this test run for 5 minutes, and then we'll check back in. Okay, so we'll rejoin the test now. The test has been running in the background for over 5 minutes. And you can see that the message rate of 450,000 messages per second ingress and egress was sustained throughout the duration of those 5 minutes. There's no issues, no blips. So if we stop that plot, we can also switch over, and we can see that the messages are still flowing through the queues. All clients are still connected. And if we take a look at the statistics, all persistent messages and message rates, still 450,000 messages per second ingress and egress, fully persistent messages. So there you go. That's the even rate demonstration. For the fan-out demo, we'll use the same appliances, but we'll change the configuration of the clients. There will still be the same number of clients, but instead we'll divide both publishers and subscribers into 2 groups. Each subscriber in Group A will receive all the messages published by publishers in Group A. This will give each message a fan-out ratio of 10. The same will apply to clients in Group B. So in total, this will give an ingress message rate of 150,000 messages per second and an egress message rate of 1.5 million messages per second with a message size of 512 bytes. And again, all messages are fully persistent. So let's check that out. Okay, for the fan-out demo, I again have the 2 Solace appliances managed within SolAdmin, and they are again pre-configured for the fan-out scenario in a virtual message broker for fan-out. There are 20 queues for the fan-out, and no clients connected currently. So let's go and connect some clients. Just as with the other demo, I will use the 5 performance servers and SDK-perf to connect the clients. They are evenly distributed. And if we switch back here, we will now have all the clients bound. And again, we'll use the SolAdmin stats charting to monitor the ingress and egress message rate to watch this demonstration. And 7 minutes of window should be sufficient, as we'll run the test for 5 minutes. So let's start this up, and initially you'll see 0 messages per second because there is no traffic flowing. So this time, instead of a staggered start, we'll just let all the clients join in, all 10 clients join in and blast messages at the system. And we'll get right to the 1.5 million messages per second egress. So let's start up the clients. You can switch back, and boom, right away, all the clients start up. 150,000 messages per second ingress and 1.5 million messages per second egress across the fan-out ratio of 10, so 20 clients in total. So that's pretty cool. Persistent messages fully guaranteed across an HA pair of Solace appliances doing 1.5 million messages per second egress. So let's check some of the other statistics. Again, queues are keeping up. Messages are passing through the queues. If we go to the clients, you can see that we have 20 clients as expected. If we go to the statistics, you can see that the persistent messages are incrementing. And if you go down, you can see that the ingress message rate is 150,000 messages per second, and the egress message rate is 1.5 million messages per second. So let's pause this now and rejoin the test after a 5-minute time period has elapsed. Okay, let's rejoin the test now. We've let it run for about 5 minutes, and as you can see, ingress rate has been completely maintained throughout the duration of the test, and the same with the egress rate, 1.5 million messages per second, persistent messages per second, no problem for the Solace appliance. So if we just take a little quick peek at the endpoints, you can see that they're still keeping up. Everybody's still draining their messages. If we look at their stats, we can still see 1.5 million messages per second egress being sustained. So again, what you just saw was a demonstration of the performance available with existing blade combinations and release 7.0 of the Solace firmware. Thank you for watching this video. You can find out more information about the Solace messaging appliance and its guaranteed messaging performance through this link.